Hello there, it's Sarah here from Dreamtime Creative and the Forgotten Women of Wakefield project here in Wakefield. I want to say hello to you all, to fellow folk who are mad about heritage, to companions of conservation, to dedicated document explorers, and to people driven by a passion to connect heritage to community and community to culture. I'm smiling because I feel like I'm standing shoulder to shoulder with you, and I'm so very pleased to accept, on behalf of us all, the Gathering and Preserving Award. I want to thank the Community Archives and Heritage Group for recognising Dreamtime Creative's contribution to the preservation of women's Her Story through our Blue Plaque parity actions, campaigns, creative engagement and placements of the iconic and nationally recognised Blue Plaque. It's not been easy. In fact, it's been incredibly challenging, which is why I am also delighted that we are being named as the overall winner of this year, of this prestigious award, because you cannot be what you cannot see. How did this happen? Because of people. Because people could see that there was a blind spot on blue plaques. They were very clear that they wanted to see the women's stories up there. So they came forward with skills and passion and vision and costumes and time and inspirational ideas, because they absolutely believed in the slogan, "You cannot be what you cannot see." So let's meet some of those people now. Helga Fox, Shannon Wisham, Steve Williams, Lois Naylor, Caleb Shepherd, Claire Pickering, Zainab Jode, Joanne Broadhead, Sarah Cobham, Antonia Stevenson, Nikki Harley, Hannah Casey, Amy Charles, Catherine Clark, Abibat Alude, Lorraine Simpson, Dr. Matthew Stallard, Dr. Shadia Briscoe-Palmer, Susan Hawksley, Sarah Forrest, Hannah Casey, Olivia Young, all the staff at Wakefield Library and Archives and at West Yorkshire History Centre, and Dawn Walton. They're all part of a bonkers, quirky, incredible organisation. They all have different and varied roles, but without them we would not be here.
Hello everyone. I joined the Forgotten Women of Wakefield project in January 2018. At the time I was suffering with depression and I'd lost my self-confidence. Initially, this project for me was a way of getting back out into the community and doing it in a safe space. In researching women that lived in Wakefield, such as Florence Margaret Beaumont, Gertrude McRoban and Louisa Fennell, they inspired me to speak publicly about the information I had gathered on them. This was something I never ever dreamed I would be able to do. I feel it's also important to say not only do we gather information on the women themselves, but also their families and the people that surrounded them and who they interacted with. Some of the research has also gone to making a couple of walking trails in the Wakefield locality, local Wakefield localities, and it's inspired interest in local history and also visits to Wakefield. Thank you and congratulations to all.
Let me tell you a little bit about us. Our vision is to enable women's voices past and present to be heard, seen, honoured, empowered, enabled and emboldened, and to leave behind a powerful, visible legacy. We've used the most immovable and static object we could find, the blue plaque. Why? Because it's a metaphor for the patriarchy. And why do I say that? Because men write history. They write his story, and they leave it where it can be seen. So how have we been challenging this? What do we do? What is involved? Well, we empower communities, all different kinds of communities, by listening to them, enabling them to represent themselves so that they can be seen and their stories can be told. We embolden the female voice. The more female voices that are seen and heard, the more it becomes normal. We upskill ourselves and others. Absolutely vital, especially in areas of research. We champion Wakefield's heritage, the people's stories, the women's stories, but also the buildings, because they play a vital role in how people feel about being connected to place. You cannot be what you cannot see. So, there are some facts about blue plaques in Wakefield that I'd like to share with you. This is pretty much reflective of the national average, and this is where we started. In Wakefield in 2018, there were 49 blue plaques. 17 of those were dedicated solely to men. 13 were dedicated to buildings, but which had male names on them. Now, this meant that there were 30 blue plaques in total that had named men on them. That's an awful lot, especially when the remaining blue plaques were just to buildings or events. But that meant that 45 blue plaques didn't recognise women. There were 49 blue plaques and 45 of them didn't recognise women. Only 4 did. That's just 10%, and it's embarrassing. So I started to ask a very simple question. Where are the women? I just asked lots of people, where are the women? Where are the women's statues? Where are the women on blue plaques? Where are the names of streets named after women? Where are the women? And unbelievably, I got quite a lot of resistance in the beginning. And I'm going to share with you some actual responses. You'll be lucky to find many women of note from Wakefield's past. I'm just wondering to this day if that's women that they were worried about or Wakefield they were concerned about. It's not our fault the women are not there to nominate. They are there. That's the whole point. Women of note in Wakefield, good luck with that. And my personal patriarchal favourite, putting more blue plaques up will devalue existing ones. Really. So, this made me furious. Absolutely furious. And I wasn't alone. The more I talked about it, the more people would say, well, that's not right. That's not fair. Of course there are women who need blue plaquing. So we just sort of cracked on. But we soon found that there were huge barriers to even getting the money to put a blue plaque up. A blue plaque is now £700. And even though we apply for lots of grants, the majority of the money from the grants goes on community engagement, and quite right too. But it means that it slows the whole process down for the amount of permanent, visible legacy that women can get. We always think about, excuse me, the purpose of the research and the purpose of the project, which is, of course, for more visibility. But who is the audience? It can't just be women. It's got to be the entire community and across different communities. And that's where the research comes in and the storytelling comes in. And of course, this takes lots and lots of time. But now we've got lots and lots of experts. And these are experts that have created not just blue plaque visible legacies, but other visible legacies as well. So we have here an example of just the many, many different kinds of community engagement and community outputs. One is our award-winning film Clara, which tells the story of one of our LGBTQ+I personalities from Wakefield, Clara Clarkson. Then we've got just one example of the lots of huge exhibitions that we do with our pop-up banners. This one's in Wakefield Library in Wakefield 1. And then we've got this outstanding painting picture by our global ethnic majority artist, Zainab Jode, who is depicting her creative interpretation of 3 key women from Wakefield's historical past, her stories and her past, Anne Mary, Eliza and Helen Edmonston. Without Helen and Eliza, Charles Waterton's natural history collection would have disappeared, as would have most of his personal letters. And what we came across in our deep research, was that these women were the daughters of Charles Edmonston, one of Scotland's most prolific and brutal and richest enslavers. So Charles Waterton benefited directly from slave money, and this is something that has been challenging the current way of thinking with regards Waterton's legacy. Here's another example of very classic historical research, very hands-on with source documents, and also some beautiful photographs of the different types of volunteers and the different events that we go to are very, very visible. We get dressed up, and we have lots of women in particular who are more than happy to get involved in stewarding and hosting events and just being there for the public, because they're all experts and they're all deeply committed to the project. You cannot be what you cannot see. So how do we do it? Look at these print articles. We've got internet articles. We go to London. We speak to politicians. We campaign. We advocate for change. We do radio interviews. There's lots of films. We now have your amazing award. We champion the stories of Wakefield's architecture, hidden and lost architecture like Clayton Hospital, which I'll link to some of our forgotten women like Edith Mackey, for example. We participate in art walks, we do exhibitions, workshops. We've got all these volunteers, and we have an incredible community. And we have an amazing website, and if you haven't seen it, please check it out. It's called Forgotten Women Wake, www.forgottenwomenwake. Much of our success is because the community engage in the visibility themselves. All of our trails and our walks are self-guided. They're all available on our website, and also because we engage and work with local artists to create incredible experiences that the public can engage in. Also, we're incredibly proud to say that we're working with primary school children to embed her story into the curriculum. So here we have some photographs working with Mackay Hill Primary School, doing Louisa Fennell walks, working with a team of volunteers on our newly launched Round Our Way guided tours, heritage tours of Wakefield, the Eliza Eve Gledel countryside walking tour, an overview map of the Forgotten Women of Wakefield blue plaque self-guided walking tour, and then people just stop and look at the Louisa Fennell panels on the Wakefield streets, and that enables them to engage with Wakefield's heritage and her story and history. So the women from our past are waking up. Their stories are being told and their permanent visible legacies are on blue plaques. Would you like to see them? I hope so. The ones in orange are the ones put up by the Civic Society, and all of the others are ours, paid for by us, championed by us, stories written by us, creative interpretations given to the public so that it's easier for them to engage by us. It's a very powerful legacy. Here we go. Clara Clarkson, Lady Catherine Milnes Gaskell, Louisa Fennell, Florence Beaumont, Edith Mackey, Margaret and Ellen Gissing, Anne Hurst, Gertrude McCroban, Richmore Magnall, Constance Heward, Baroness Alice Bacon, Barbara Hepworth, Nellie and Emily Staines, Nellie Spindler, Dame Marjorie Williamson, Mary Frances Heaton, Edna Coates, Eva Lett, Phyllis Lett, Anne Clarkson, Eliza Eve Gledel, Elizabeth Moxon, the Florence Beaumont Building, Elizabeth Dawson and Sarah Parker Remond, Denise Ramsden, Fanny Stott, and the Edmonston women. I think we've managed to challenge the ideas surrounding patriarchal norms and blue plaques. And we have moved that immovable idea that only men were able to contribute to the social, political, economic, cultural, spiritual, and creative landscape of our past. What do you think? We now have 29 women named on blue plaques, and if other blue plaque providers in Wakefield had chosen to press pause on unveiling blue plaques to men for a few short years, we would have had parity as of today. But that didn't happen. Instead, more blue plaques to men have been going up, which, of course, now leaves us with some more challenges. However, we are not the only city in the country with as many blue plaques to women as we have. And the idea is catching on. Certainly Leeds, Bradford and Sheffield are making huge efforts to tell her story. And that's a legacy. So where does it come from? This drive, this passion? Well, from the women and their achievements, both now and from the past. Some stories are easier to be seen. Other stories have yet to be heard and uncovered. But what links us? Courage. Courage to do the right thing. Courage to find and tell the hardest stories and push back against those who continue to see little value in the legacy of her story. You cannot be what you cannot see. Things have changed, and we are proud to say that we have changed for the better the cultural landscape of Wakefield by claiming the blue plaque as a space for the female legacy. The Community and Archives Heritage Group Award for Gathering and Preserving History recognises this. Whilst being chosen as the overall winner, validates the value we bring to the table. The team and I cannot thank you enough for this opportunity to shine. Courage calls to courage everywhere. Thank you. Encourage, Sarah.